Thank you very much, Ken, for being with us today. And I would like you to mention our 250,000 alumni, which they are located all over the world. From your perspective, how can they find the element, if there is a way to explain it in a little words?
Well, I should say first what I mean by the element. One of the things that struck me for a long time is that a lot of people don't enjoy the work they do.
That's right.
Or even the lives they lead. They just get through it and wait for the weekend. But I also meet people who love what they do and couldn't imagine doing anything else. They live for it. And the expression we have in English for that is they're in their element. Well, it's two things to be in your element. One is that you're doing things that you're naturally good at, that you have an aptitude for, a facility. But it's more than that, because we're all good at very different things. Some people come alive on a sports field. Some people go to sleep on a sports field. Some people come alive if they're in a design studio, and some people don't. So finding the things that you're good at is part of it. But it's more than that, because you can be good at things you don't like. So being in your element is also loving it. So if you love something you're good at, then you never really work again. So what I explain that in the book and give lots of examples of it, but what I'm also saying is that you can discover that for yourself. But it means getting to know yourself a bit better. In my experience, a lot of people don't really know much about their own talents. They don't know much about their own abilities. They haven't explored them, and school often didn't help them to find them. And I often find people who think they don't have any passions. And I always disbelieve that. I think it's they haven't really discovered what they are. So it's a practical process of searching for things you're good at, of discovering the things that give you energy. That's the other thing about passion, really. By passion, I don't mean that people are constantly in a kind of heavy sweat, dashing around with castanets. I mean that you're doing things that give you energy. At the end of doing it, you feel uplifted by it. And you know that feeling that sometimes you can do things that you don't care for, and 5 minutes feels like an hour. But if you do things you love, then an hour feels like 5 minutes, because it gives you energy, it feeds your spirit. And so it's about that.
That sounds great. And what things can we do to help our kids to find their element?
I think the first thing is you have to buy this book. This is very important. That's the first step. The second step is to buy another copy of it for people.
For the people you love.
The people you love. And more for your children. Well, it's a very important question for parents, this, because very often parents have ambitions for their children which don't always coincide with what their children want. And typically, parents may have some stereotype career in mind, like you should be this or you should be that. It's why in North America, where I live, there are so many lawyers, because parents are constantly driving their kids to law school because they think that's going to be the secure career of the future. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not, but it's one of the reasons there's so much legislation in America, because all these lawyers need something to do, so they keep inventing laws they can sue people with. And my argument to parents is that you should, if people want to be a lawyer, that's great. I'm not against people being lawyers, but not everybody does any more than they want to be everything else. I always say to parents, if you have 2 children or more, that I will make them a bet. And my bet is that their children are completely different from each other. Because they are. Children are. I've got 2 kids. I'm one of 7. We all love each other, but we're all very different. Because people are different. That's the point. And the first step for a parent is to treat their children as individuals, to look at what it is that interests them, because there'll be different things that interest them. Look at what gets them up in the morning. Look at the things that they find exciting, that they're drawn to doing. You've also got to bear in mind, of course, with kids, that their interests may change over time. The thing that obsesses them when they're 10 may be something that leaves them cold when they're 15. But that's true of all of us. Our elements change as we get. Sometimes it's the same thing for life, but sometimes it's one thing leading to another. So the first step for a parent is to be sensitive to differences. And if you're genuinely interested in the happiness of your children, and most people are, If you see them really strongly resisting the path you have in mind, then at least think about whether you're right to keep pushing them down that road. I know all kinds of kids who've been pushed away from courses they would like to have done in college because their parents thought they knew better. And often these people find themselves in the middle of their lives giving it up completely and going back to the thing they want to do when they're 18. So yeah, I think it's the second thing for parents to remember is this is their life, it's not your life. You can't live their life for them, and they don't want to live your life either. So if you really love them, if you really care for them, they often need to be pushed, but try and push them in the direction that they feel suitable to move into.
Great. Thanks. Thanks too much for
it's my
your
pleasure.
thoughts,
Really.
and I'm sure that there will be really good ways to pursue in our own lives, in the lives around us. And thank you very much for sharing with our alumni all over the world.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Javier.